Hi, good morning. Hope you can hear me. I'll slide this forward a little more. It's gonna be video 916, and it's gonna be an interesting. I hope, because I realized something this morning, but I want to point out that I am wearing my free mom hug shirt, um, because I was casually speaking with one of my friends, and I wore my other one. I have a pink one I normally wear, and they were like, "Well, how can you give hugs if you're not a mom?" And I was like, um, which kind of just got me thinking about number one, I am definitely a mother. I am definitely my daughter's biological father. I can't, you know, uh, but I have throughout my existence. I think that's my hair. It's not a cat. Yeah. Throughout my existence, I've been both mother and father to my child. I can't, I'm a single parent uh, in many ways. So, um, I can't, you know what I mean. But anyway, that's probably a whole other topic for a whole other time. But I want to talk about something that kind of like sometimes when uh, we're presented with a lot of binary situations in life. Uh, the light switch can be on or off. The light can be on or off. It can't, you know, can't really exist in more than two states. Um, but it's either on or it's off. There are some things that are very easily binary, and so I think what I'm going into is I kind of started to make a statement like, well, there are two different types of people in this world, those who do A and those who do B. And in all likelihood, there's probably a C, a D, a E, down the line on different levels and different degrees. But much like the light, it could be on or it can be off. Okay? But I kind of have this, if I could reduce this, if you'll humor me for the moment, down to two states is Um, there are people who believe in free will and letting other people have free will, and there are people who don't. And I realize again you know, you probably could come back and say, well, what type of free will and what type of people, you know. But in our and how that affects this channel in my life, One Transit Middle Age is, you know, there are people who uh will let you transition and be the transgender man, the transgender woman, the non-binary person that you are, you know. And there are people who won't, you know. And they won't in a variety of means, whether it be dead naming you, uh, whether it be uh, misgendering you as you transition or after, during all those things. You know, there's some little maybe social things which I think are just kind of innocent. And much like my mom, who's in her 80s, and she will occasionally call me by my dead name or misgender me, and I don't, I don't get angry at that because she's 80 years old. She lived 70 years of her life. One way, I was one way to her that she knew of. And so yeah, I don't, you see what I'm saying? I tend to give some leeway there. But there are people who are adamant, you know, well, I don't have to call you the name you want to be called. I don't have to use your pronouns, you know. and it's almost some kind of sense of sadistic pride or something, ha ha ha, I don't have to, you can't make me. Um, but if we could boil that down to, just kind of, you'll find people that are, again, um, you know, they're willing to allow other people to have free will, and there are some people who won't. And, I just tried to think about how over the course of our development here on this planet as a race, as a people, okay, and I don't mean that as white, black. I mean as like, you know, the human race, Homo sapiens, that in that sense, you know, how did, every society has a set of established norms, a set of established rules that makes them a society, a culture. Um, you know, Usually you reach a point where, like, a social contract, these are our rules, this is what we're going to allow, this is what we're not going to allow, how we're going to behave, those norms of, what is acceptable behavior. And how is it that some groups are like, um, you know, uh, we are going to let some people live the way they want to as long as it doesn't affect me or you. You know what I mean? Like, as a member of society alpha, uh, you know, uh, we're not going to demand that you choose a job that we specify. You're going to have the ability to apply for a different position, for different positions, at different rates of salary. And, if you want to, growing up, if you want to be you know, if you want to be, uh, whatever, if you want to be a librarian, you could be a librarian. If you get the training and you prove you can do it, da 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 da, you can be a librarian. You could uh, be a clerk, be an administrative person. You could get training and be a doctor if you wanted. You know what I mean? Like, it's that free will, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine. Uh, you know what I mean? Like, you have the freedom to do what you want to do. As long as you're not harming someone else, you're not hurting. You know, you can't just grab a knife and stab people. We have these social constructs, these norms, and at what point did a group of people or one person get another group of people, because it has to be a group, and say, well, you know what, we're not going to let people do what they feel like they want to do. We're not going to let, uh, if you were born with a penis, you can't wear skirts. If you were born with a vagina, you can't wear pants. Um, if you're born with a vagina and a penis, we're gonna uh, cut off the penis, or you know what I mean? Like who developed these rules, these social rules, these norms? And I guess that's anthropology and the science of how did people organize themselves, how did they live, blah blah blah. But I'm trying to figure out, at what point does a group of people decide that you know the group gets to decide and override what the individual wants. you know let's say that you really, really, really wanted to be a librarian. You love books. You love people reading. You like to teach people how to read, and you love to organize things. It's the perfect job for you. But some authority says, well, no, you can't be a librarian. You get to be a garbage collector, or you get to be um, a switchboard operator. You know, those old pictures of usually women in front of the big board with all the plugs, and they're making the plugs. You know, telephone operator. Um, you know, uh, or digging ditches or so. You know what I mean? Like what? Why? How did that idea of a group of people or a person telling someone else what they can and cannot do, the jobs they can and cannot get, the clothes they can and cannot wear, the food they can and cannot eat? You know, in our world today, we have people who choose to be vegan. We have people who choose to be. There's another word that's not as restricted, or maybe it's more restrictive than vegan. But you know, if the government said, you know what, we're no longer going to allow people to eat meat. You know, you're only going to be able to eat vegetables. Well, people would lose their minds. You know, what do you mean? You can't tell me what I can and cannot do? You know, so we have that idea of some individual freedoms, but and people can kind of understand that. You know, yeah, I should be able to go to my supermarket and get me a nice cut of meat and make a steak and eat it. That doesn't hurt anyone else. You know, it's my money, how I choose to spend it. So we have that. And again, I can only speak of this from an American point of view, but we have that instilled in us that, yeah, I have the freedom, I have the right to do that. So why does that model not apply to transgender people or gay people in certain areas, black people in certain areas? You know, why does one group of people, in this instance, Republican Party, on the national level at least, why do they feel empowered or authorized to tell another group of people, specifically me and you, um, we can't use a bathroom, we can't, um, you know, these laws that are being passed now against drag time stuff, drag, you can't wear the clothes of the opposite sex, okay, which if you go back in time, a certain period of time, you know, uh, what was her name? Katharine Hepburn caused a scandal because she said she was going to wear pants in one of her movies, and they're like, oh, but women can't wear pants, you know, and you know, again, it's a social norm, it's a construct that changes over time, blah 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 blah. But why is it that a person who will say, uh, you can't make me a vegan, you can't take away my gun, you can't, like, you can't make me take the COVID vaccine. Why is there, if it's not hypocrisy, it's something else to say, oh no, no, you can't love the one, you can't marry the person that you want to marry if they're the opposite sex, or you know what I mean? It's like, why do we allow some things and it's socially acceptable, but then we don't allow something else, and it's thought of socially unacceptable. You know what I mean? It's like I'm just trying to figure out at its very core someone who says, I worked with the person who had very strong views, and they said, "Oh, well, it's my religious views." And I said, "Okay, well, religious views, but why do you feel that way? What is it about it that, and Lizzo, the artist, singer, came out with something about, and I read it yesterday. It was like, we need to ask why. Why do you feel that two men shouldn't be in a relationship together? Why do you feel that two women shouldn't be in a relationship? Well, it's against the will of God. That's not good enough. Why do you believe in it? You know, no one is holding a gun to your head and saying you have to believe in these beliefs because I tell you so. You know, you have that ability. You could be a good Christian and belong to a church that welcomes gay people, or welcomes everybody. Jesus, as far as I know, didn't turn away people. Rabbi, Rabbi, I want to follow you. And da da da. And Jesus like, well, well, you all are accepted, but you people, well, you know, I'm sorry, I don't accept people with blue eyes. I mean, Jesus never did that, but why? So why is there this? Again, if we could kind of just look at a person who says, you know what, hey, I'm content in my life, or there's things I want to do. Who am I to try and inflict my opinion on someone else's free will? You know, I think at its very basic, you kind of we kind of can. I think it does split people into two separate things. Um, my for myself, as long as someone isn't hurting me, uh, I tend to feel like I can't really can tell someone else what to do. You know what I mean? As when it comes to the clothes they want to wear, the job they want to do, I mean, things that are quality of life for that other person, that's up to them. You know, they might, much like myself, they might make some mistakes and do some bad things that make some wrong decisions, and that's life. You learn from it, hopefully. Uh, but there's another group of people who are like, no, I think they shouldn't be able to do that. No, I think they shouldn't be able to wear those clothes, and they shouldn't be able to, uh, you know, make enough money, and they shouldn't, you know. Um, it's very opinionated and, in my mind, very autocratic and very, again, uh, what I would call tyrannical, behavior is you're commanding someone else. You're neglecting their free will because you want to control that. You want to, you know what I'm saying? And so I think it's just something that uh, I kind of, instead of just saying Republican, Democrat, socialist, I want to ask a person, so what do you think about, you know, uh, why do you feel that, why do you feel that, knowing that gender is on a spectrum, and knowing that uh, it's different than sexuality, why do you wish to manipulate and control what a person does or their degree of happiness based off of where they are on that gender spectrum versus where they might have been they're assigned sex at birth. And if that person is not for the other person's free will or for the other person's pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it kind of again comes down to control. You know, they want to control. Why? Ask the question, like Lizzo is. Why do you feel that you have the authority to control someone else and to take away their free will? I mean, really shed all of the labels for the moment, shed all of the other things, and just get down to that basic question. Why do you feel? How do you feel? Why do you feel? Do you feel that you have the ability to override someone else's free will? I mean, there was a word for it called slavery. You know, on the plantation, if the master says you do something, you do it, right? Because you're the master's slave. Uh, Slavery was outlawed by the 13th or the 14th Amendment. It's illegal. You can't do slavery in America. So why do we allow people to have that master slave dominance? And I guess again, get at the root of it and ask. You know, uh, my friend Brenda, she does a lot of really cool stuff. But one of the things she does is she works at a place that checks your eyes, and you know, why do you feel that you should be able to control what Brenda does or take Brenda out of it? A woman, a man. Why do you feel that you should be able to control what that man does with his free time? Or that woman does with her free time? Or that child does? It's their free time, it's their freedom. You know, we have the right to make mistakes and hopefully we learn from them, but that's kind of what I see at the moment, particularly in the area of it seems like if you say your religious reasons, it gives you a free pass to tromp all over other people's free will. But then if you say, "Oh, I'm doing it for the children. I'm protecting the children." That gives you a free pass to bypass that child's free will, to bypass the free will and authority of that child's parents, that child's guardian. Well, I just don't think children are old enough to know what they want. You know, uh, you know, does it matter that the child doesn't want to eat spinach? Uh, child to eat broccoli, but you're gonna make them eat spinach. Uh, well, what about cauliflower? What about corn? What about green beans? No, they've got to eat spinach because I want them to eat spinach. You know, that person does not have the authority to make the parents of that child buy spinach. So why do we feel like they have the ability to tell the parents of that child that they can't get the mental health care they need, that they can't get the physical health care that they need? You know, I guess that kind of again comes back to transgender, one trans at middle age. We've lived the hell We don't want other children to experience our hell. We know it. And so, you know, we hopefully advocate for the child to be able to talk to a mental health counselor, because gender affirming care includes mental health. You know, you could have gender affirming care and it not be anything biological, surgical, da, 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 da. But again, it's the same kind of thing. We're okay with that child uh, being put on Prozac or Ritalin or any of the other, mental health things. Uh, Again, why do some people feel like they get to override someone else's free will? And I guess that's kind of the crux of my poorly driven bus. The point that I'm driving towards very poorly is that, what is it about? Why does someone else feel like their opinion matters? But it's just my opinion. Nobody asked you your opinion, and nobody cares about your opinion. And what does it say about you as a person that you feel the need to dictate your own opinion about other people? Of course, you could turn that back on me. Why are you talking about people on your channel? But again, you know, if you are of the group of people who allows in other people to have their free will, um, I guess that is an opinion about people. But again, it's not really a topic of conversation, where it seems almost to be uh, a kind of like Fox News. It's people griping about people being able to do what they want, and it's almost just this exercise in futility. Well, I don't think people should drive orange cars. Well, okay. Um, I don't know. But it just made me think this morning as I dropped my my daughter off at school. I was driving. I'm like, it really just kind of boils down to if you're a live and let live type person, or if you're a I want to control you type person. So anyway, food for thought. Um, Again, and if I could run the risk of putting one more point on this, and then I'll shut up. Is I have noticed whenever I see a clip on the news or a clip on YouTube, uh, related to any of a lot of what we talked about today, but also uh, access to healthcare that includes abortion, uh, social programs that help other people, poor people, and definitely in the realm of transgender girls and transgender women playing sports. The loudest and most vocal and visible opponents to these things are old white men. What is really going on there? Why is it one demographic repeatedly shows up as against free will? Watch if you can. Just start to take note of it. The next time you see a rally of uh, black people protesting the death of a black person, watch. Just start to observe. You may see a trend, you know. And what is it about transgender girls and transgender women that is just so offensive to old white men? Think about that. Till next time. Bye bye.